Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas, and you're a gasaholic. Thanks for tuning in this morning. A lot of people go through what's called midlife crisis. I've never had that issue. I don't know what my midlife is going to be. I don't know when I'm ever going to get there. I refuse to grow up. I may be growing older, but where's the midlife? I don't know. But there is a syndrome called midlife crisis, and according to experts, only men go through this. Right. Sure. Yeah, only men. Yeah. Well, it's not quite right, but you know what? They have come up with a list of cars that are supposed to help men go through their midlife crisis. They say there's 30 of them. We'll go through the top 10 or so, maybe even more. But, it's hard to tell. Someone asked me, well, you bought your car because of your midlife crisis. Which time? Which car? I've never had normal cars. Well, normal in the sense that this is what everybody else drives. Well, a lot of people drive the type of cars I drive, but at what point in time was it a midlife crisis that made me buy it? Now, someone told me my Corvette's a midlife crisis. We've had 3. So at which point was it a midlife crisis? Some people say my hot rods are midlife crisis. Which one? I've had so many, it's hard to tell when midlife started. Was it in my 20s? Was it in my teens? You know what? I've always had interesting old cars. And where do you place midlife crisis on? But what this article in Motor Junkie says is that people or men considered 45 to 56 are in their midlife crisis. It's anxiety or disappointment that can occur and a loss of self-confidence. Well, I've never really had a lot of self-confidence, so I didn't lose it. Well, I'm confident. I know exactly what I can do wrong. So, and if I ever have any questions, all I do is have to ask my wife, and that's fine, or post on Facebook, and someone will tell me what I've done wrong. So it's not an issue. But let's talk about cars, and let's talk about what they're thinking a midlife crisis vehicle is. Chuck Null says it's the point when you can finally afford it. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Craig Heidenthal says, cramming for your finals. Yeah, that could be too. That was a crisis, let me tell you. All right, so the top, well, not the top, but one of the cars considered a midlife crisis car is now the Mustang. Yes, the Mustang. How many people buy Mustangs? It's not just guys that are buying Mustangs. Come on. And which Mustang is it? Well, they're saying it's the GT350. Really? You got to be a rich guy in midlife crisis to buy one of these because they're almost $75,000. If I'm going to spend $75,000 on a car because of a crisis, I have to be working. I'd have to be working a lot, making a lot. And I'm not going to spend that kind of money on a car. Period. Just never happens. Never will happen. So, yep. Hi, Jim. Happy half week to you, too. And Jerry Burwell, Denny Sanders. So, anyway, they're saying the pony car's been around, the Mustang, for over 50 years. And, yeah, it has been over 50 years. It's been 60 years, guys. Wake up. This is how bad this magazine is. Or confused this magazine is on things. And, well, they're saying middle-aged men want the Mustang. You know what? It's a cool car. It's a nice handling car. It's a good driving car. What does that have to do with age? But anyway, that's what they're saying. Now, the next one is really strange because they're saying the Cadillac Escalade is a midlife crisis vehicle. It's not a car, it's a vehicle. And they say, although it's not a sports car, it's expensive. It's opulent. So someone who's got a crisis or feeling inadequate because of their income will buy an Escalade. Folks, if you're feeling inadequate because of your income, you couldn't afford the Escalade in the first place. Next up, they're saying the Mercedes Roadsters, the SL series. Yeah, I've always thought of that as, yeah, I guess that could be a midlife crisis car. Usually it's the guy who just got divorced and he's looking for that hot trophy babe to hold on his arm. So he gets that to attract them. He's got nothing else to offer, but he's got the Mercedes. Yeah, what do you think? You know, who knows? Well, that's what they're saying. Next up, Porsche 911 series. Really? Porsche 911s have been out since 1963. Midlife crisis? Nice car. Great handling car. Popular. Been in production for decades. The basic car, of course, nothing interchanges any longer with those. They look pretty much the same. They've kept that true to form. But a midlife crisis vehicle? Good morning, Nicole. How are you doing in Marshall Hill, Lyle? But that's what they say. And they said the 911 started off as an affordable sports car. Yeah, now it's way out of price range for anybody, for most people. Except Ernie the attorney. He's got one or two. He races them too, I think. But he's had that for a long time. He's nowhere near midlife yet. All right, here's the one that strikes right here. It's got me. They're saying the Corvette. Any Corvette. Well, you know what? I've had Corvettes since I'm 40 years old. Not because I didn't want them before. I almost bought them a couple of times, but it just didn't work out. I started buying my first Corvette when I was 26. Was I going through midlife crisis then? I don't know. So, but they're saying the Corvette. And you know what? I'm looking at the car club that I belong to, and it's a lot of old guys and wives. So who's going through the crisis? The wife or the husband? Or is it really a crisis? I mean, Corvette's been a popular sports car for decades. The next one they're putting on the list is another Cadillac, CTS-V. Okay, it's a performance sedan. The V means it's a V8, that's all. It's got higher horsepower, handles great. It's a good BMW and Mercedes beater. But is it something you buy because of a midlife crisis? Cadillac CTS-V is really a plain Jane car. Unless you know what that V badge means, it doesn't mean anything at all. It's just a Cadillac. And who drives Cadillacs? Old guys. Hey, Don Gady and Rob Pratt, good morning to you. Corey Weaver as well. All right, next on the list, the Mazda Miata. Really? I've been told by a couple of people that the Miata is a chick car. You know, I drove one. A buddy brought one up to a autocross we were running one time. Great car. Loved the handling of the car. I was in my 20s. Would have loved to have a Miata. Then. Now? Don't know. It's built by Fiat. Not a fan of Fiat. Yeah, look it up. The Fiat 124 and the Mazda Miata. Same car, different engine. Oh, well. Fix it again, Tony. At it again. All right, next up, Plymouth Roadrunner. Really? They're saying if you are interested in a Plymouth Roadrunner, especially the Hemi, you're having a midlife crisis. What? Now, maybe you're recapturing your youth when the Roadrunner first came out. If you're my age, that was an exciting car, and you would have loved to have gotten it, but family, school, finances, you couldn't do it. So why did you buy it now? Because you could afford it. You gave yourself a toy. That's cool. Sam, last thing I read was the Miata and the Fiat 124 were designed by Fiat. Is Mazda doing the assembly on both those cars? Let me know. Be interesting to find out. All right, so the Roadrunner, right there. Now, originally they sold for less than $3,000. Now a good Hemi car, over $100,000. Rob Pratt says his midlife crisis vehicle was a 2018 Chevy Silverado. All right, again, the Porsche comes up as a midlife crisis vehicle, the Boxster. Okay. Again, it's a GT or a Roadster sports car. Sports cars make it for you. What age difference does it make? Miata 124 entirely Mazda except for Fiat's engine. Cool. Nice to know, Sam. I know Fiat had something to do with it. I thought initially, from what I was reading, was Fiat had designed the car. And in that respect, we're building it as well. Santos, he's having a midlife crisis with bicycles. Bicycles. Okay. And Denny Sanders is saying, we got Danny Santos and Denny Sanders back to back here. He got his first Roadrunner when he was 18. Naturally, it's a 4-speed car. Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to have anything else. All right, next up on the list, a Ford Focus. Really, folks? A Ford Focus is a midlife crisis car? Now, they're specifically stating the RS version. That's the boy racer car. I don't know anyone older than 30 that's buying a Ford Focus, let alone a Ford Focus RS. That's a $40,000 car. Really? Ford Focus RS is a midlife crisis car? Then the Subaru STI should be up there as well. They're also saying the Porsche SUV is a midlife crisis vehicle. A Cayenne is a midlife crisis. I'm buying an SUV because I'm going through a midlife crisis. I want to look like I've got a soccer mom car. Okay. It's a pricey SUV, yes. But midlife crisis? I don't know. Jag XKE. Now, you got to go back in time to get one of these because they haven't been produced in decades. But an XKE is a midlife crisis car? No more so than a Roadrunner. It's a beautiful car. I've loved the XKE since they first came out. Almost bought one, but it had a 289 Ford motor in it when I looked at it, and I wasn't really interested in a hot rod at that point in time. But kick myself now for not doing that. Beautiful XKE coupe. My favorite, Jaguar. Now, I've had two. Gosh, I had them in my 20s. Was I going through my midlife crisis in my 20s? I had a lot of cars in my 20s. These were older Jags, too. XK120s. A coupe and a drop head. Well, they called it a fixed head and a drop head. All right, now here's the one that hits me right in the heart. They're saying a midlife crisis car is any hot rod. What? Building a hot rod in your garage is one thing, but buying it finished is another. You buy it finished because you don't have the talent to build it, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the place, or you just want to buy a car that's cool looking. But they're saying, the Motor Junkie, in their infinite wisdom, that buying a hot rod is a midlife crisis. Well, I built my hot rod 35 plus years ago. I was just a youngster, but it wasn't my first hot rod. So if I build a hot rod now, or I buy a newer hot rod now, I must be going through a midlife crisis? Peggy, you've gone through a midlife crisis. Well, that's my wife. She bought her hot rod done. Why? Because it was done and you could drive it. It was fun. You could get right into it. You didn't have to worry about putting something together. And it costs less to buy one that's done than it does to build it yourself. Was she going through a midlife crisis? Doubt it. Her midlife crisis was me. Yeah. Hi, sweetheart. I know you're going to watch this. I can tell. All right. So any hot rod that you buy, they think is a midlife crisis vehicle. Okay. Didn't realize that. So let's see what's next on this hit list of theirs. Now, hot rods are still popular, and the median age of a hot rod owner is quite older. All right. Guys out there, you like lowriders? According to this website, Motor Junkie, a lowrider is a midlife crisis car. They have never been to a car show, have they? They have never talked to someone who drives a beautiful lowrider. It's a family thing. It's a social gathering key that opens the door to a whole lot of friendships. Just like a hot rod. You've got groups that have them. They're not age specific. Basically, if you look at the average owner of what's called a rat rod, you got guys in their 20s and 30s. A lowrider? There's an age group that varies from, their first bicycle. They're lowrider bicycles. So building a lowrider or owning a lowrider is not a sign of middle age, guys. That's just you like that car. All right, now if you're middle age and you've really got some money, a Lamborghini puts you right there. Okay. I put that Lamborghini alongside the Mercedes SL and say, yep, you just got divorced and you're looking for a hottie to hang on your arm, but it has absolutely nothing to do with age as much as it does the size of your wallet and what you're trying to buy. Think about that one. Now, my son has a Jeep Rubicon. They're saying a Jeep Rubicon or a Jeep Wrangler, my son's got the four-door version, is a midlife crisis car. He bought this car when he was 26 years old. How did that become a midlife crisis car? He uses it to haul his equipment when he goes to work. He likes doing off-roading and camping. He's going through a midlife crisis? A Jeep Wrangler? No, don't think so, folks. Can't see it. Not one that I would pick. All right, this is a crazy one. A Dodge Ram pickup truck, 2500, but you got to tow the boat behind it. What? When did a 2500 series heavy-duty pickup truck with a diesel engine become a midlife crisis vehicle? It's a utilitarian product. It's midlife. Give me a break. Maybe midlife only because that's when you can finally afford it. Now, they're also saying the Lexus LC500 sports car is a midlife crisis car. If they're basing midlife crisis on the age of the buyers, they're not taking into consideration that at a certain point you finally have earned enough money to allow you to buy these things. And it has nothing to do with midlife crisis. It has to do with the ability to afford these things. Panks is saying a Dodge Viper should be on the list. Well, we'll find out. We're still going through it. He's going through it quicker than we are, obviously. All right, here's another car they're saying is a midlife crisis car. The Toyota GT86. Well, it's got a kissing cousin, the Subaru. There's the FRS and the BRZ. These are primarily owned by younger kids. They're cool little sports cars. They drive really nice. My cousin's got one. He was way beyond middle age when he bought it. Gosh, he was 60-something. Now, I drove the car. Excellent handling. Hasn't got enough power to get out of its own way. But it's a cool car. Drives nice. Feels comfortable. Midlife crisis car? Yeah. Okay, this one is the stupidest one yet. the smart car. How smart would you be if you were in midlife crisis? You'd be smart enough not to buy one of these. But that's what they're saying, the smart car. Now, are they saying the electric? No, they're just saying smart cars. Now, I've driven a smart car, had one as a company vehicle, an electric one. Really? No. This is not something you do in a midlife crisis. To show someone you're stingy, you're cheap, you don't want a real car, you got a smart car. Not very smart there, Bunky. That's right. Mustangs, again, comes up. This one, they're saying, though, is a classic Mustang. I could understand, again, the same mentality that buys a Roadrunner would buy a Mustang. Denny Sanders saying he laid out six figures for his dad's 63 Plymouth. Couldn't have done that when he was 25. And yes, that is not a midlife crisis. That was a goal car. That was a car you wanted because of the history, because of the connection to your father. That has absolutely nothing to do with anything midlife. And besides, it's not even a Roadrunner. It's a beautiful Plymouth, though. Sam's telling me I'm correct about the pricing, but the LC only. Reason for anyone to buy it other than that. Okay, Jessica Lundgren's watching from Sweden. How you doing, sweetie? All right, so the Mustang, they're saying 64 to 73. You buy those because of a midlife crisis. No, I think it's the same thing as with the Roadrunner. You buy it now because you couldn't afford it then. Or you've bought it again because when you had one the first time, you weren't smart enough to take care of it and it got away. Or you destroyed it. Or you had to sell it because you needed something that was better basic transportation. The wife said so. Who the heck knows why? But you bought it now because you can, and you wanted it back since you got rid of it. Next up, DeLorean. Midlife crisis? You buy a DeLorean because you think it's a quirky, interesting car. You don't buy it because it's a midlife crisis car. This is not a car you aspire to own unless you're a Back to the Future fan. Really? You know, when I was a district manager for one of the car companies, I was calling on a dealer that also sold DeLoreans. And when DeLorean got busted for coke, they figured they better get rid of these cars because now the factory's closed down. There's no more DeLoreans going to be built. So what they did is they placed a full-page ad in the Denver newspaper, and it said, buy a DeLorean, get a free case of Coke. Don't know if it got any more sales, but it got some chuckles along the way. Good morning, Joe Walla. How you doing today? Now, from what I understand, there's a company that holds the rights to the name DeLorean, and they're supposed to be going back into production. They're using new old stock parts, and they're coming up with a new design DeLorean that reminisces the old one, but is more updated with horsepower that this car was sadly without. And some upgraded styling, lighting, even maybe a little bit more safety, although the DeLorean was a pretty safe car back in the day. But the DeLorean is a midlife crisis car? Too few, too far between. All right, here's another midlife crisis car that absolutely makes no sense. The Lincoln Navigator. Why would you want to drive around in a mommy car, a soccer mom car, and consider it a midlife crisis vehicle? It's a utility vehicle. Gee. I don't understand people. Ferrari. I could see that as a midlife crisis car for the multi-talented, rich group. Just like a Lamborghini. Although there's people that I know that have Ferraris, and they've had them for many, many years once they were able to afford them. It had absolutely nothing to do with midlife crisis or age. Hi, Sue. How you doing? Still wondering what your dream car would be instead of taking over the kids' cars? Yeah, I understand that one. Hey, I took over Scott's car. My son, my younger one. It's 57 Ford, though. But, you know what? The car you think is cool is the car you end up with. and you'll figure it out someday. There's no rush. Here's another SUV that comes up on the midlife crisis list, a Range Rover. Really? The SUV that's made owners into mechanics for over 50 years is now a midlife crisis car? Why? Because you want to get your hands dirty and climb underneath it to repair it all the time? I don't think so, Bunky. But the Range Rover's there on the list. Next up, a Tesla. Really? A Tesla is a midlife crisis car? They're not that old. Sue, you would look great in a Ferrari, let me tell you there. But a Tesla is a midlife crisis car? Tell that to Elon Musk, would you? Oh, but it's got to be the Tesla S, so you got to get the big baby. Now, I like the looks of the Tesla. It's an amazing car. They drive amazingly, I'm told. I've got a friend that owns one. They come out to the drag strip with these cars, and they blast down the track faster than the Hemi cars, faster than the Challenger Hellcats. These things are quick. Low 7-second ETs right out of the box. Point it, aim it, go. You're gone. Peggy says Cobra's her midlife crisis car. Yes, dear. I know. And we've got the pictures on the wall to prove it. All right, here we go. The Bavarian Money Waster. The BMW M4 convertible is a midlife crisis car. Okay. I've had BMWs. I've had a handful of them. I worked for them. Midlife crisis? Nah. What we looked at and the demographics on the BMWs when I was part of it was these were guys that were up and coming in their careers. They weren't quite established yet, so they didn't have the Mercedes. They may have a family now, and they couldn't get the Porsche because the wife said it only seats two. So they bought the BMW. So the BMW handled like a Porsche, but fit people like a Mercedes. But a midlife crisis car? No. Not really. Yasu Jeeps. They say Jeep is a midlife crisis car, so my younger son Scott must be going through midlife crisis in his 20s. Jaguars. Another Jag comes up. This time it's the newer XK convertibles. I looked at one of these before I bought my 89 Corvette. Why? It was in the same price range. And I wanted a car that handled. I wanted a car that had some performance. I'd gotten rid of my Ford Maverick to get something. And that's it. John Gomes says, 57 Ford, right, Larry Knapp? Yep. There we go, 57 Fords. Not a crisis car, but I helped my son out and bought it from him. But a Jag XK convertible, they're saying, is a midlife crisis car. No more so than the Mercedes. Audi. These are not midlife crisis cars, guys. These are everyday drive them to work cars for the people who have the budget to buy them. Yeah, Sue, they're saying Jaguar. Well, I must have been going through my midlife crisis in my 20s because I had 2 Jaguars back then. So, I guess I've been going through my midlife crisis since I was a teenager. Lamborghini Countach, a midlife crisis car. Yeah, okay, Ferrari and everything else. That was the number 1 midlife crisis car. I don't know, what do you think, folks? Midlife crisis, or I can just finally afford it? Or I think that car's cool. Don't know. Good morning, Rex. Rex wrote out of Florida. Good morning to you. Spread some sunshine. Hope to see you next month in Bowling Green for the National Holly Hot Rod Reunion. We'll try and get back there for that. All right, guys. You guys have a great day. Oh, Sue Mullen said, okay, must be a Corvette. Well, gosh, Sue, I've got 2 of those. And I've had 3. And I got the first one before Scott was born. Wasn't going through a midlife crisis then, but, you know, I like them because they drive nice, they handle well, and they get good gas mileage for their size. And it's a cool car. Corvette's always been a cool car. Everyone's always wanted Corvettes. Had nothing to do with midlife crisis. But anyway, these are the cars listed by Motor Junkie as the midlife crisis vehicles. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas, the morning edition. Thanks for tuning in. You are a gasaholic for watching. Thank you very much. John Gomes, glad to see you here with us. Take care, folks. GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene. Every morning brought to you by Moon Eyes, Irwindale Speedway, Irwindale Drag Strip, Valley Head Service, Beach Underwriting Associates, and Service Tech, the equipment you need for the garage you have. I'm Hot Rod Bob. Vince, how are you doing this morning? Glad you tuned in. Take care, folks. Don't forget, you can catch this show on YouTube later today or tonight. It'll be on Facebook for a while. And don't forget our YouTube channels, Two Tired Guys Productions, with talking about cars and gas, the Great American Auto Scene. Your two car shows from the two car guys that know their cars. You have a great day, folks. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. I'm headed out to the Orange County Mustang Club meeting tonight down in Tustin, California. We're going to talk about cars and give them some gas. Down at the Mustang Club in Orange County. Orange County Mustang Clubs in Tustin going to be meeting tonight at Zinto's Pizza. I'm going to be there. And if you got a Mustang, be there too. Take care, folks. Have a great day.